Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Social Media Fridays on Monday, episode 83. Each week we meet here to talk about what happened last week in the world of social media. With us tonight we have Edwin Jonk, CEO of IDEST Host in the Netherlands. You can find Edwin at idesthost.nl. Masataki Wafner runs a website in the UK. It's wasaweb.net. He's also a Google top contributor on the AdSense and also the Google Plus help community. You can find Masataki at wasaweb.net. And Tim Capper is a Google top contributor on the Google My Business forum, and he's also a conversion rate optimization specialist and proud to call himself an SEO. He's based in Corby in the north of England. You can also find Tim at onlineownership.com, or if you can't be bothered typing that, just search for Online Ownership Corby. All right. Each week, as I said, we have topics of interest posted in the social media on Friday's community on Google Plus. This week, we have a couple of topics. First one titled, "Why isn't social media solving all of our problems?" Anybody?
Well, basically, it is a cartoon based on an article from Gartner about hype cycles. And this one is about hype cycles in social marketing. Yeah, and of course, social media doesn't solve anything magically. That you have to do some work, right? It's quite an interesting read, especially if you take a look at the graph about how they see the hype.
Okay. Anybody else?
For example, in the hype cycle, there are iBeacons and Bluetooth beacons. Does anybody use them, or?
No, I haven't.
No, me neither.
Okay, if you'd like to read this article from Gartner's, it's in a folder, Smarter with Gartner, 5 Key Trends in Gartner's 2015 Digital Marketing Hype Cycle. All right, let's move on to the next. And this one intrigued me. I haven't had time to read up on it, but it was posted by Tony McCreath. Twitter isn't raising the character limit; it's building a wall. What does he mean?
Well, basically, all the platforms are building walls, right? Facebook is building their wall. Their walled garden, right? Not the wall. So basically, Facebook wants everyone to be on Facebook and not go out to other websites or the internet as a whole. In this article, the examples are given are native videos, instant articles, and that's mainly for mobile users. Maybe Twitter do the same with instant articles. And both Facebook and Twitter bought a lot of companies, especially video companies. I forgot which one Facebook bought, but Twitter bought. How is that one called? I'm not using it, so. Yeah.
Thanks.
And basically,
you go.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm thinking about the name of that video chatting thing, right? Well, it doesn't really matter, does it? But what they want is they want you to be on their platform, and then they can sell you advertisements. They have more data on you. So yeah, it makes sense for Twitter or for Facebook to be only on Facebook or on Twitter, right? And not cross-linking to the greater interweb.
Of course, this would be a thought that they took on board from the way that Google is behaving in recent years.
Yeah. Yeah, especially with those answers within Google search. The AMP version is a little bit different because what Google's doing there within search is that they're showing the cached version of Google. Of the AMP version, of course, the cached AMP version in the Google CDN. So your analytics will still work. Your advertisements, if allowed within AMP, still work. But yeah, they are all trying to grab the user and let them stay on their CDNs or on their platforms with their technology. For the investor, it makes sense. I'm not sure if the users find this great, or publishers for that matter.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
They are basically the intermediaries, right? Twitter, Facebook, Google. Or they want to be.
Yeah. So from the point of view of someone who creates something, as a content creator, then what strategy are you going to utilize? Are you going to then have to post things natively, as it were? On Facebook, on Twitter, on Google Plus, on whatever other, LinkedIn articles, all those kind of different places that you can create content and are advantaged, over, or has an advantage over external materials. So if you as a person who wants to spread whatever you create, most widely disseminate them, most widely, then you'd probably be posting natively to all these different things, places, as it were. Is that the ideal situation?
Well, for Facebook yeah, it is.
Well, yeah, exactly. So then it comes back to that whole thing about sharecropping and serfdom analogies that people have been making, in that essentially it is a transaction in the sense that, okay, by creating something, by posting something on this platform, your content will have better exposure. So is that what you are really trying to exchange? So and obviously benefits the platform because there's more content on it, more people will visit it, and will be happy. So the question is that trade-off worth it for the person? And I think,
well, I think that's not the question you should be asking, because the incentives for those platforms were so great, right? That how do you remove the incentives if you don't like it, right? How do you remove those incentives? Because that's how they are going to run. No.
no. Okay. So what exactly do you mean? So there's now pose a question from the point of the person creating it, and think, okay, what am I going to get out from this relationship with this particular platform? You're sort of approaching it from the other side. Would that be correct?
Yeah. I'm approaching it from Facebook or from Twitter. Um,
So
that there are incentives. It gives them so much more benefits if people are on their platform. But on the other hand, of course, they need the content too. But the publishers also need to advertise their content, right? Or promote their content.
So the question is, in a sense, it comes down to who benefits more from the arrangement. And many people like to be on their platforms. They're not particularly thinking about, oh, I'm actually creating content for this platform. They just like it. They have their friends, they share things, they put things on the platform, and it's all great and works wonderfully. So for those people, it really doesn't matter. And in actual fact, the platforms are really making a great amount of um, benefit, reaping quite a lot of benefit from that, because people aren't really aware that they are actually doing the platform a favor, in a sense, with very little in return, in any sort of monetary terms. But in terms of, if you like, this social connections, better relationships, etc., etc., etc. That those are valuable things for users, which can be fostered through the platform. So there is that transaction, but in that transaction, it's arguable, and you could say, well, I certainly would argue that the platform benefits more because it has a lot of data that are quite useful. A lot of it is quite private, pertinent. It gives an insight into a person's mind, person's relationships, person's connections, and how people interact with one another. Very valuable set of data. But then the question is, what happens if you are someone who makes a living by creating things? And then that can become a problem. Whether that's through selling things, using the web as a medium to generate sales, but also there's artists and so forth who create things and then put them online and then try to make a living from that. It's going to be very tough for those people because
maybe Facebook or Twitter will be subsidizing content, just like YouTube is doing. I don't know how much YouTube is spending on those YouTubers, but it's quite insane and quite a large amount. So yeah, that's a possibility because as far as I know, or as far as I can see, YouTube is making more money than the people that create the content for YouTube. Maybe Facebook will go that route. I don't know, but I don't think it's something you can stop because the benefits for those platforms are just too great, right?
Yeah. And people feel that they're benefiting sufficiently from that arrangement. So
And
long
publishers, if publishers aren't on Facebook or on Twitter, or journalists for that matter, they're losing. They're pretty much losing the game, right? Because another publisher or another journalist will be on Twitter and we'll see the benefits from it. So.
yeah.
Right, it's just a couple of platforms and a lot of journalists, and a lot of publishers. That's a problem I see. Makes sense or not?
Yeah.
Like one publisher cannot make a stand, or if they want to.
They're all billion-dollar companies. Basically, what they say, what they decide to do, it's either their way or the highway.
Yeah. And of course, it also depends per country, right? If Google's doing something in their search, and there's a 90% market share of Google search, then of course that will have a bigger impact than when there's only 60%, right? But still, these companies are huge.
I really don't know what people see in Facebook. So I have relatives staying with us at the moment. I just go from Facebook to Candy Crush, back to Facebook.
Yeah. Well, sometimes there are nice things on Facebook, nice posts from people.
Well, I like the way Facebook can cure cancer just with a few likes. I like that.
The article also mentions the 140 character limit.
Yeah. So because at the moment there is very little that you can put in 140 characters, right? I mean, that's a limit. There are things that you can squeeze into 140 characters. So people may use different tactics to overcome that limitation. So people would take a screenshot of something and then post it as a block of text as an image. Or, I think, as it has been argued in that article, that people link outside. So people go to another site to read that content. So people say, okay, so the 140 characters thing is kind of a teaser. It's your job to make it interesting enough and fun enough so that people will click through. The idea is that if Twitter introduces a far longer limit, then content that is posted on Twitter will be more favorably treated compared to those that are linking to external web entities. So that certainly is the case. For example, if you use, I think, is it a photo card, Twitter card? And that would create a big, if on individual status, individual tweet, if you go to a page, then you see the big picture, but you don't see it in stream, as it were. When you're looking at your Twitter feed, the images do appear, but those are only that have been uploaded to Twitter. Those are expanded by default, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But not if it's an external thing linked via the Twitter photo Twitter card. And same with, so the argument, I suppose, is it's similar to article, because at the moment if you use, I think it's the article Twitter card. No, it's not. Sorry, not article. Summary Twitter card. Then it will give you the headline and also excerpt. So once you expand it, then you can then decide whether to go to the site or not, and it can contain more information. Now that if there's a higher limit in terms of characters, then would Twitter show that? Or would Twitter be treating it as favorably as it does now? So that's going to be an interesting thing. And same with Facebook, isn't it? There have been a huge hoo-ha about videos on Facebook. That if you try to have YouTube on Facebook, it doesn't do as well as native videos on Facebook. And obviously that's a problem for YouTubers who are trying to make money from their videos, because people are essentially ripping it and then putting the videos on Facebook. So there are already issues, and when different platforms try to build thicker, higher, stronger walls, then this is going to happen more and more frequently. And then comes back to the initial point that I was trying to make, as a publisher, what is going to be your strategy? Because are you going to post on these different platforms? Because in a sense, you have to, unless you do so, you lose the competitive edge. But that means replicating the same content on different platforms. How are you going to be in control of all of that? And obviously, it will take time. It's not going to be that simple. So it is, I think, this move by Twitter, if it does happen, does seem to fit into the broader pattern that we're seeing at the moment. And it doesn't look too pretty, as the article, I think, intimated.
Yeah, especially for the publishers or people that the content creators.
Okay.
But the 140 character limit, that's quite unique to Twitter. And if they expand it, maybe they're not that unique anymore, right? They're not unique to Facebook.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's part of their charm, that it is 140 characters, and it is a challenge to put something deep and meaningful inside that 140 characters. It's like it's like a contest. Some posts that I see are just so witty. So I think that's Twitter's charm. I hope that they never change that. I wonder if they wouldn't be better keeping standard posts as they are with 140 characters, and also allowing people, like creating a full blogging platform. I don't know.
And this, for the reader, it's also nice, right? You only have 140 characters, and you just go to your stream, and within a couple of minutes you read I don't know how many tweets. Well, if you're on Facebook, you cannot read as much as one can do on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
So that's quite unique, and if they lose that uniqueness, what's the difference between Twitter and Facebook, or Twitter and another social media platform?
Candy Crush, apparently. All right. Have we covered this, do you think?
I think so, yeah.
Any other news this week?
I don't know of any. Do you, Mastake?
Yeah, not really.
No.
All right. Well, look, let's conclude this latest episode of the Tim Capper Show. And I'll just click this button, and just to be certain, yes, it is. If you're still watching us, thank you very much. Your interest in what we do makes what we do worthwhile. We'll be back at the same time next week to do it all again. Thank you very much.